According to historical documents, the first indentured labourers to arrive in South Africa were a far cry from the wan-looking, weather-beaten people expected. Instead, a happy-go-lucky bunch, excited at the prospect of a new life, was set to disembark the Truro, the very first ship to dock with labourers. Added to this, the rolling hills and splendid beaches of Durban must have been a welcome sight after 30 days of cramped, unhealthy and brutal conditions on the ships themselves. However, there was a waiting period before labourers were committed to their employers. Labourers were herded out to temporary barracks situated on what is now known as the Bluff. The barracks were nothing less than a base camp without proper accommodation, where men, women and children were lumped together and had to basically see to themselves while they waited to be accounted for by their future employers. Of the 339 Indians who arrived, one had absconded. From their knowledge of indentured labour in places like Mauritius and the Caribbean, the colonists knew this would be a problem. So high walls around the barracks hold the labourers in. At least at sea, a glimpse of the ocean was possible. Here in the barracks, though, days would go by without sight of anything else. Before labourers were distributed, their names and other details were recorded. These were never made available to them. In other words, the documents were about them and not for them. Their lives would be recorded with very little input from their end and wouldn't even be made available to them. More trouble was to come as the distribution process commenced. Women were separated from their children as white farmers came to collect their workers. No cognizance was given to the idea of keeping families together. If these labourers had arrived with excitement at the idea of a better life, it was soon replaced by heartache. A hard and difficult journey, followed by cruelty at the hands of a distribution process that held scant regard for the flesh and bone they were, must have been debilitating. More than this, it must have appeared that survival was now a priority, far above the promise of a golden bounty promised to them by recruiters, or arkatyas as they were called. If the idea that they were little more than numbers had not hit home for the 339 who arrived aboard the Truro, the trials and tribulations that would meet them on the farms would certainly do the job.